Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining and being here and a participant and hearing about the Community Information Summit. We're going to go over a lot of information on homelessness and housing initiatives here in rural Polk County. And to kick us off tonight, we're going to have Commissioner Jeremy Gordon.
Thank you, Ryan, and good evening. On behalf of Polk County Paths, welcome to the first virtual Community Information Summit on homeless and housing initiatives in rural Polk County. My name is Jeremy Gordon, and I am a Polk County Commissioner and also represent Polk County on the boards of the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance and Paths. Polk County Paths is a partnership between the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, the cities of Dallas, Monmouth, Independence, Falls City, and Willamina, and the Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency. Together, we establish a rural homelessness response office within Polk County Family and Community Outreach and are working towards a 5-year strategic plan to prevent and solve homelessness for rural Polk County households. This has been important and timely work as housing challenges have been increasing for Polk County families and households due to a number of factors. Essentially, people are spending more of their income on housing as average rents have increased dramatically since 2016 and especially since 2020. And there are fewer affordable housing options for people who fall on hard times. The folks in our communities who are struggling could be the checkout person at the grocery store, the people you volunteer to serve at the local food bank, your favorite barista making your coffee in the morning, or your child's classmate. These are our community members. And for these reasons, it is critical that we connect with folks who face housing challenges as soon as possible during a housing emergency and provide a pathway back to housing and self-sufficiency. This will prevent prolonged trauma and hardship for these households and prevent more elaborate and costly interventions in the future. Homelessness in our communities is not a challenge we can ignore, and it is one that is best addressed when we center our efforts around data-informed decision-making, collaboration, and equal access to services. Our rural communities have too often been overlooked as areas of concern, and I'm happy to report that we have unprecedented resources at our disposal to truly move the needle on homelessness and leverage the incredible partnerships long established in Polk County. I'm so proud to live in a community with so many service providers and community and faith leaders who are addressing these challenges together every single day. And I'd like to give special thanks to our service provider presenters for being with us this evening. They represent some of the core services engaging families and households who are struggling with housing and other challenges. In Polk County, collaboration has always been supported through our service integration teams, which include health providers, Polk County School-Based Mental Health Program, Behavioral Health and Public Health, state and federal program representatives, community volunteers, faith leaders, public safety professionals, and area nonprofits. We have in Polk County a robust array of service provider partnerships that strive to ensure that all people are empowered and healthy and that everybody has a safe and predictable place to sleep at night. So thank you again for being with us today. Please hold your questions for the end. We look forward to answering them, and I will turn it over to Ryan to begin with a data presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Before I jump into data, few tips for you guys. So just as Commissioner Jeremy Gordon said, you can ask questions. So to do that, you can submit questions on a function on the bottom of your screen. Questions will be collected throughout the presentation, and we will answer as many as time allows at the end of the presentation. Also, just want to let everybody know that this is being recorded. All right, let's jump into data. So for Polk County data, we have collected this data really over the span of this last year. And this is everybody that we here at Polk County Family and Community Outreach have worked with. And so there's kind of two categories that we pinpointed here. The first one is literal homeless on the top. And the second one is imminent risk of homelessness. And so for some definitions and stuff, for HUD, we get our definitions from HUD, which stands for Housing and Urban Development. And literal homeless is essentially a place not meant for human habitation. So this can mean that somebody is sleeping in their car, somebody is sleeping in their RV with no hookups, somebody is sleeping in a tent, or they're just living on the street. That is literal homeless. So at the top here, some data points. The first one you see is family data with 10. Down in the italicized area, family data represents 10 families experiencing literal homeless here in Polk County. Of those 10 families, there are 28 children that are under 18, and there are 12 adults. So basically, most of the families that we've been working with are single parents, and there's a lot of kids. There's like 2 to 3 kids per family. For individual data, we have adults without children, currently 22 that are literal homeless. And then we have unaccompanied youth that shows 0. But we know that there are many accompanied youth here in Polk County that are literal homeless. With school being back up, we plan to work with school staff to help gather data around unaccompanied youth, but to also meet with those youth and meet their needs. We'll be working with school-based mental health staff, community liaisons that are at each school district, and other supporting staff as well. Now we're going to move down to the imminent risk data on the bottom there. So imminent risk of homelessness, by HUD definition, is essentially somebody is about to become homeless, whether they are getting an eviction, they're losing their residence, they could be staying in a shelter or something, and they're going to be out on the streets. So anything that you are essentially at risk of homelessness. Currently, we have 18 families that are in imminent risk. And of those 18 families, there are 36 children that are under 18. There are 19 adults within that family that are imminent risk. And then there's the individual data. There are 55 adults without children that are imminent risk of homelessness in rural Polk County. That is a lot of people. And then same with the unaccompanied youth. We will be collecting that as the school year goes on. And then I just want to touch on the totals before we move on. So total individuals for literal homeless, there's 62 people that we are working with, and those are numbers. That's unduplicated. For imminent risk, we have a total of 110 individuals that we are working with. Moving on to some other data for you. We didn't touch on the unaccompanied youth, but here McKinney-Vento has some data that they've collected throughout the year in each school district here in rural Polk County. So starting with 2018 to 2019, you can see on the top left, there's Central School District. It kind of starts out with 78 and goes down to 49. Dallas School District for 2021, 2022, there's 44 youth. And then Fall City, they actually had quite a bit of a jump. You can see from the 2020, and this is the bottom left, 2020 to 2021, there's 7 youth. And then 2021 to 2022, there was 22 youth. So that's a large jump there. On the right, we've got Willamina. And Willamina, I'm going to move my screen here so I can see it. Willamina has kind of increased over time, as well as Perrydale on the bottom. So from what McKinney-Vento has collected, and McKinney-Vento, they have liaisons that are in each school. They work with a lot of kids. Their data points on average per school year from 2018 to 2022, there is a total of 213 students in rural Polk County that are experiencing homelessness. That is a lot. So we plan on partnering with school districts, school-based mental health, McKinney-Vento, to work with these youth and help them in need. To kind of wrap things up, you just saw a lot of numbers on homeless youth. So where are these homeless youth staying? So 67% are doubled up or couch surfing, which means you don't really see them at all. 24% of those numbers are unsheltered. So that unsheltered is living on the street, place not meant for habitation. 4.2% are sheltered. And then 3.8% are staying in a motel or just staying in a place where it's being paid for temporarily. And that's data for you. So now we're going to move on. I'm going to be talking a little bit about Polk County Family Community Outreach and what we do on the outreach side of things. So here at Polk County Family Community Outreach, we have a prevention and outreach team. Currently it consists of me and another coworker, so it's a team of 2. We do weekly outreach in partnership with The Rock. So The Rock is a recovery and outreach community center. We partner with community action agency, city police departments, and more to go out on the street and meet clients where they're at. Some clients become homeless and they're out there for a short time. Some are more prolonged and they're living on the streets for longer. So we want to have the best connections with community partners to help meet the needs for clients as much as possible. We currently have a data system that tracks all client information and situations, everything that we need to know about the client that we're working with. So those data points that we worked with for the literal homeless and imminent risk, we collect all of that in a large database that our homeless prevention and outreach team can view, can go back to, so we know situation just about for every client that we work with. We also have a resource center that provides a space for clients to receive mail. So if a client can't receive mail anywhere, there's nowhere to get just really any mail in particular, they can set up a mailbox through us down at the resource center. We currently have 2 resource centers, so 2 sites where clients can go. One is here in Dallas at the Academy building, and the other one is in Monmouth off of 16th Street. So clients can go there and get resources and all the things that they need. We also have an outreach van that we can travel to clients. So a good example is we're working with city police. They contact us, hey, there's somebody on the streets that they just became homeless and we don't know where to start. They can contact us and we can go on and drive down there and meet the client. We've taken trips to Grand Ronde, Fall City, Monmouth, Rick Reel, Willamina. That outreach van will go everywhere. So it's very helpful. And basically, we just want to assist the best way possible. Our whole goal is to meet with clients, to figure out what their situation is, and to walk alongside of them and see how we can help, whether it's addiction treatment, getting them into addiction recovery places, working with places like Polk County Behavioral Health and assisting with mental health needs, or if it's just shelter, working with shelters. In Salem, sometimes if they're willing to take men or women. Smucker Place has been amazing, taking women on the streets with kids, and UGM's been great as well. So we just want to meet the needs of clients the best we can. All right. And next up from Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency Arches is Breezy.
Thank you, Ryan. You have my next slide. I think there was a next slide. Perfect. So at Community Action, we strive to make sure that we are providing Polk County with all the same services that we provide Salem. And so what that's going to look like is our outreach teams are out in the Polk County area at least once or twice a week, partnering with the FCO teams to make sure that the services that we offer are brought out to the folks that are needing it most in Polk County. Community Action also is the hub for our local COC coordinated entry system, which is the way that all individuals and families that are needing assistance or housing are entered into the homeless delivery system. So we're the hub for that. So we make sure that we have assessors out in Polk County Mondays at Monmouth, at the Monmouth Annex, and then Tuesdays at the Academy building. We are actually working right now to make sure that we have folks on site 5 days a week that are available to make sure that assessments are available when people come into those sites, so that we are not missing anybody. We're giving everybody equal and equitable access. I think the thing that we are most proud of right now is our newest rapid rehousing program. We've always had a rapid rehousing program out in Polk County. This is the first time that we have been able to partner really closely with FCO. We entered into a grant through the state, and are working to house 50 individuals from rural Polk County that have been on the streets. And it has been a great partnership. We always partner very, very closely with FCO, all of our offices, all of the work that we do. But this is the first time I think that where the FCO staff starts and my staff begin. It's just hard to tell. They're working in conjunction so well. The FCO staff is using all of their skills to help people remove barriers, find housing. And then my staff step in and help pay the rent and are able to then case manage, help them find resources to become self-sufficient, which is always the goal. Rapid rehousing is not a long-term housing program. It is a year to 2 years of housing. And so our goal at the end of that is to help people either achieve their Section 8 voucher or some sort of benefit or employment that helps them to maintain their self-sufficiency in rural Polk County. We know that these are where these folks are from, and we want to help them maintain their housing in the communities that they are most comfortable in. And that is what we are doing out in Polk County for community action. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Breezy. Next up for Polk County School-Based Mental Health is Megan.
Hi, my name is Megan Siefried, and I'm part of the school-based mental health team. I'm specifically work in Dallas High School in Morrison Alternative. Can I go get my next slide, please? Thank you very much. So the school-based mental health team is part of family and community outreach. And our job is to focus on serving children in the schools that may have been overskipped or not seen if they weren't, if they were just in the general setting and they come to us to support them with mental health and also resources. So I'm specifically focused on resources. So we serve students K through 12 in the Dallas Central school districts, all the public schools. And then we also serve Fall City and Kings Valley as well. So we, along with the emotional support that I talked about, we do group and individual setting, and then specific the resources. So a lot of times this just comes up in sessions. Usually students don't come to us originally needing like resources. It kind of just comes out naturally because it's scary to talk about like, hey, things at home aren't the best, or I'm not, in a home right now. So usually it comes out, kind of just like fluid as a student starts to trust you a little more. So the great thing about that is once it does come out, we're able to provide resources, whether that connecting them to FCO or connecting to them and family members to other resources in the community. So last year, my team specifically served about 1,300 students. And as you can see on here, the Dallas School District and Central District documented this last school year that 74 students in the Dallas School District were considered homeless or houseless, and in the Central School District, 36 students. So this is McKinney-Vento numbers, which is documented specifically by the school district. It's not part of the Oregon Department of Education. So these are students that are specifically working with the school and often working with the school-based mental health team to focus on getting resources. One thing I just want to note is that like a connected kid, like a kid getting services, is a healthier kid. Like they're able to be more successful in school. There's been a lot of situations I've seen where they do come and we figure out that they aren't in the best living situation or are couch hopping or whatever that looks like, especially like at working in high schools. And just the turnaround you see from them getting resources, even sometimes just getting food. Like they're able to pay attention in class. They're able to focus on the things they need to do to be successful as a student because they're feeling safer at home. They feel like they can develop a connection with a safe human at school to talk about, kind of these scary topics that maybe their peers would make fun of them for or that kind of thing. So the school-based mental health team in Polk County is here to support the students holistically in whatever they need and specifically connect them with resources as well.
Thank you so much, Megan. Next, for Polk County Family and Community Outreach, talking about the Resource Center, is Abby.
Hello, good evening. Thanks for having me. I'm Abby Warren. I'm going to start tonight by talking about the Polk County Resource Center, a program inside of the Polk County Family and Community Outreach Department. On the next slide, you'll see a little bit of an overview of what the Polk County Resource Center provides. So the Resource Center really serves individuals and families throughout Polk County with a host of different needs. These can range from some of the basic needs you see listed on the screen, including things like food boxes, water, hygiene items like shampoo and deodorant, school supplies and other childcare items like diapers and formula, and then also meals ready to eat, otherwise known as MREs, are some examples of the basic needs that clients can access at the Resource Center. Clients can also access needs that include rent and utility assistance, things like birth certificate and ID connection. All kinds of different resources can be found at the Resource Center. Just to get a scope of what the needs look like and how they've changed over the last 2 years, when we look at the 2021 to 2022 fiscal year, the Polk County Resource Center funded 195 funding requests, and that totaled about $581,000 in cash to support some of those needs. When we look forward to the 2022-2023 fiscal year, we saw that we funded about 739 funding requests for a total of about $961,000. So we can see that the number of requests nearly quadrupled that we were able to fund, and the cash to do so nearly doubled. When we talk about those requests, all of those needs are vetted with a three-pronged approach. The first piece of vetting is that a client or individual lives inside of Polk County. The second is that they have a verified emergency that would allow them to be eligible for the funding. And then the third is that the client is able to access some sort of sustainability plan. So they have sustainability moving forward past the support that the Resource Center is able to provide. And the staff support for the Resource Center is again three-pronged. So you have the resource connectors who are able to greet clients and help walk through that funding request process. We also have housing navigators that can help support clients that are especially seeking housing. And then we also have veteran services that can support those clients living in the Polk County region that are veterans. So that's just a brief overview of what we do at the Polk County Resource Center.
Thank you so much, Abby. Next, to talk about Polk warming centers, we have Matt.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be with you all. And I feel like we're kind of in the eye of the storm with the warming centers right now because it is in the 70s and it's kind of our 4th or 5th summer this season, but we will be getting into colder weather and some rain here soon. And so we are gearing up for our 6th season of the Polk County Warming Centers, which is designed to be a safe and warm place to sleep on our coldest nights here in rural Polk County. Our goal is to serve our neighbors, and we do find that many of our guests grew up here. They went to Central High School, they went to Dallas High School, they went to Fall City, and that is our mission. Our goal is to serve those neighbors. Our season typically runs from November 1st through March 31st because those are the 5 months that we do see freezing weather. We activate when the temperature gets down to 32 degrees or below. And we've actually been blessed to be able to open more nights than that for those who are without shelter, just with the funding that we've been able to receive through community action and in partnership with the Polk County Family and Community Outreach Program as well. We enjoy partnerships with quite a few churches in the area, primarily in Dallas, Monmouth, and Independence. And our model is to rotate every 2 weeks to a different facility, which allows the service to be enjoyed in closer to where folks are. And we are able to provide transportation for those who may be in a different city at that moment. It also allows different groups of people, different congregations in this case, to participate in serving their neighbors through the warming centers, to provide meals, to help folks settle in the evenings, or to provide breakfast and help folks in the mornings as well. Our model is to run from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. on the nights that we open. And we also the last few years have been able to serve out in the Fall City community as well, and have enjoyed using the Fall City Community Center as a hub for those freezing nights that is able to be open with showers and a kitchen to serve specifically the community in Fall City, which is separated by bus service from the rest of our rural Polk County communities. We are not exclusive to those experiencing homelessness, but we do find that many of our guests are unsheltered. And that's the same case with the Safe Shower program that is at Community Life Church in Monmouth. We have 2 accessible shower rooms that are available for drop-in every Monday and Wednesday, 9 to noon. And there's also the option of making an appointment for other times during the week if someone is not able to come and shower at that moment. But we found, not just our unsheltered friends are able to use that, but we've had folks who, the water service has been shut off for a period of time. They needed to freshen up before work. Those who may be in a recreational vehicle that isn't hooked up to permanent utilities, things like that. And we try to provide some resources for them while they're there, some snacks and ability to charge devices and just have a rest, but also to refer to other services like we're hearing together this evening. So that's a little bit about the Polk County Warming Centers and the Safe Shower program.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. Next up, we have Eric here to talk about Gale's Lodge.
Good evening, everyone. Eric Enderle, Polk County Veteran Services Program Supervisor, which includes Gale's Lodge, which is a transitional housing program for veterans. Veterans in Polk County experiencing or at risk for homelessness. We've been open since June of 2019. We initially opened with some grant funding through Community Action Agency, Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs, and local fundraising. Since that time, including the guys that are there currently, we've served 35 veterans. It's been a great partnership with the Dallas United Methodist Church. They provided the physical place for Gale's Lodge to be sited at. We do pay rent of $1 per year. A lot of the folks in the congregation, though, volunteer and do different things, whether it's providing some peer mentorship for vets in the program or helping the vets and us with different projects. One of them being the patio pavers and outdoor area there. Currently, we receive about $50,000 per year from Community Action Agency and grant funding, which provides a 0.5 FTE case manager. For veterans to get into the program, they have to be from Polk County first, be a veteran, obviously, and be willing to participate in the program and find, some permanent, stable housing for themselves. Throughout their time at Gale's Lodge, they're required at a minimum to meet once a week with the case manager, kind of go over individual plans, barriers they may have, and then connect them to various benefits, whether that's federal VA benefits, local resources, or organizations, and help them find, like I said, permanent, sustainable housing. We work a lot with different organizations, whether it's Polk Community Development Corporation, who's been a great partner in terms of permanent housing, to Vet Care of Oregon, or Easter Seals of Oregon. One of the things that's really important about Gale's Lodge is it's not, a shelter. We can't just have folks dropped off there. It's a program, right? Folks have to be, like I said, willing to kind of better themselves and do some of the work with whatever help we can offer. And the length of stay has ranged from as little as a couple of days up to about a year during COVID. When COVID first came around and it shut everything down, it really kind of derailed some folks. We've had folks in Gale's Lodge that are ranging in ages of 19 to 74. And one of the things that's, really important to me personally and professionally about Gale's Lodge is being a veteran myself, and working in the line of work I do. It's really disappointing when somebody comes in, they're struggling to navigate the VA process, and in that conversation we find out, they may not have a place to call home tomorrow, a place to lay their head, do some laundry. We've had, like I said, 35 folks come through there, and each one of them brings kind of a unique perspective, time and service. And to see them succeed is, very, very satisfying to everybody that works with Gale's Lodge. And it's appreciated. And that's all I have about Gale's Lodge. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Gale's Lodge is an amazing project. Next, to talk about Ediger Hall, we've got Abby Warren.
Thanks again, Ryan. Ediger Hall is such a neat program. Again, a program in partnership with the Polk County Family and Community Outreach Department and the Dallas Alliance Church. This is a project that's open now, and you can see on this first slide, this is the outside of the Ediger Hall home, which is a really neat transitional housing program that houses one family at a time. This space that you see right here on your screen is actually a remodeled old school building that currently houses, like I said, one family at a time. It's a 3-bedroom unit that has a dining space, a full kitchen, a beautiful bathroom, super spacious. Ryan, if you don't mind clicking through, we'll look a little bit at some of these before and afters. When we talk about remodeling, we mean it. It started really as what you see here on the left as pretty basic, and we've transformed it to be very homey, livable space. If we go into the next slide, you'll be able to look at kind of those bedroom spaces. We have great kid-friendly bunk beds and a nice spacious adult bed there, and some nice furniture that just really makes it a homey space for families to live in. This is kind of similar to what Eric described with Gale's Lodge. It is really intended to be a transitional housing space where families that experience maybe a gap in housing situations or are struggling to find more permanent housing might be able to stay and rest here at Ediger Hall, kind of like Eric mentioned. The really cool part is this is now open, and a neat success story is that the first family that ever had a chance to stay at Ediger Hall was a mom and her 3 kids, have actually in the span of about 6 weeks started at Ediger Hall, worked with the Polk County Resource Center and Resource Center staff to really come up with a sustainability plan, and are now in more permanent housing. And so we are just so excited to see how families get to enter Ediger Hall, get to work on the transition plan, and then get to find that permanent housing that works well for them. Like I said, they're connected not only with the Polk County staff, but other Polk County programs that might include folks like behavioral health or other social supports that we can connect families with. Really neat program right here in Dallas.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Abby. Next, from Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency Home Youth Services, Megan is here to talk about transitional housing home.
Thank you, Ryan. Hello there, I'm Megan Perez. I'm the program manager with Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency Home Youth Services. Home has several services that we offer. I am specifically the program manager here for our new Monmouth home. This transitional home, will welcome up to 5 youth at a time, ages 14 to 18. Our goal is really to ensure that this house really stays a part of the neighborhood and the community. And we really prioritize that by, making efforts to connect with the neighbors and really going door to door and making community connections and partnerships with other community partners in the neighborhood as well. Our goal while serving youth here is to really make this home a home for them. We have connected with the McKinney-Vento liaisons at the different school districts And our plan is to really be youth focused while youth are in the home. So as they enter in, we will be setting goals with them, such as education, and we will be transporting them to and from school. We will also be focusing on goals such as job readiness and partnering with other community partners, such as like the YMCA and other local businesses that will hire youth. We'll also be doing some life skills training. We have a very large backyard, and we just had some community members of a local church come out and redo the entire yard and put some garden beds in. So that will be like a great life skill training, and whatever else goals that are identified while the youth are staying here. We will have staff on site 24/7 and connect youth to medical, dental, and whatever other services are needed for the time being while they're here.
Thank you so much, Megan. Next, from Church at the Park, DJ Vincent.
Thank you, Ryan. And it's encouraging to be amongst some great partners tonight and to see so many people looking to engage and learn more. Church at the Park has been doing this work the past 15 years, a majority of the time doing outreach and connecting people to other agencies and services. We've had the honor of working for 7 years on warming, like Matt talked about, with Community Action Agency. And just since 2001, we have been supporting folks through these shelter village efforts. Our desire is to create a banquet of love and acceptance for all neighbors. And so that's one of the reasons we're excited to be invited to partner in rural Polk County, because we see that all neighbors do want to see communities that thrive, and there are so many partnerships available to connect people to. The sheltering efforts that we provide, we call it our 3 S's. First of all, we spend a lot of time thinking about safety. Safety for the guest, safety for staff and partners, and the neighborhood. And so to create that safety, we have 24/7 staffing, because we think, if the pathway to health and housing requires relationship, we need those healthy relationships present at all times. We provide 1 meal a day because most of our guests, especially families, kids are getting connected to resources at school. Parents are often working. And so really that 1 meal a day helps them keep the rest of their benefits intact and really on the right track. And then we do require those who stay with us to engage in case management. We also have peers on site who can go shoulder to shoulder with those folks to kind of start appointments and fill out paperwork and think about job applications. We've been honored in our 3 sites in Salem to have medical and behavioral health services on site and officing 2 days a week to make sure when people come to us, sometimes they're feeling isolated and they don't have the team of support around them to thrive. And our goal in their stay with us, however short it might be, is to increase that team, make sure they have a primary care doctor, make sure if they need any kind of counseling that they've got that set up when they move on to their next site. So again, in the area of safety, we have DPSST licensed safety team members who also practice our values of nonviolent communication and de-escalation in each situation. So if you go to the next slide, you'll kind of see what these housing units look like. Sometimes folks think that we're talking about tents, but really we're talking about dormitories on wheels with these 40-foot trailers that have either 2 rooms for families or 4 rooms for individuals. And each of these trailers, if you go to the next slide, also have a bathroom shower attached. And we build decks off of those. And it has really been well received by those guests, kind of restoring their sense of dignity, welcoming them into a community of folks who are rooting for them to make those positive next steps. And so when we think about a site, again, it needs to be safe. It needs to have just a lot of support around sanitation and those basic services. And then it's supported to next steps, connecting people to work and housing. So at the sites that we propose, we put in laundry facilities, and that ends up being this huge space of where folks were just kind of moving through clothing closets. Now they can just maintain the clothes that really work for them and keep kids really connected to school, feeling like they have that dignity of clean clothes and a shower each day. So those are some of the basic services that we're able to provide. And through that, then with partnerships in the community, like was mentioned with Rapid Rehousing, we're able to, see those families and individuals really reconnected in the community and thriving again. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, DJ. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about Confederate tribes of Grand Ronde, and specifically transitional housing and shelter. So pictured here is some tribal councilwomen standing in front of a micro village that is now up and running. And one of those tribal councilwomen is Michael Cherry, who helped kind of kickstart all of this. And so Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde, just past Valley Junction off Highway 22, a little community they have out there, have this awesome micro shelter. And currently they have one site that is operational and up and running, and site 2 is currently under construction. But this first site, and we're going to see some pictures here. This first site is a 10 unit size, 2 bunks each for each unit. So essentially holding about 20 people. They serve a lot of elders in their community. Case management is also required for people to stay here. And so there's just this huge need of tribal members that needed shelter. They needed resources. They needed housing temporarily. And so they kind of took on this housing village as an approach to just help house these people and then meet with them and connect them to the resources in need. The picture on the top right here is a little living space. It's got a large refrigerator, some couches, some tables that they're able to meet with clients at, and community partners are also able to come in and meet with clients as well. On the bottom left, you can see a little bit about what the bunk situation is like. And you can actually see on the left side there that the bunk actually folds up. So both of the bunks are able to fold up and they're able to fold down so people can sleep there. Nope, we're going to go back. And just to kind of conclude with the second village just kind of being in construction, they've been able to fill the shelter. They've been able to fill it all the time. There's a wait list, and so there's a very high need, and they're able to serve a lot of people. All right, next up, talk about Salem Housing Authority is Sara Quick.
Thank you so much, Ryan. I appreciate that. It is indeed wonderful to be here with all of you. And as many of you know, I am with the Salem Housing Authority. I'm the Special Programs Manager with the Housing Authority. And the majority of our work does occur within City of Salem limits, within City of Kaiser and West Salem. But I want to discuss one program specifically supporting our Polk County neighbors, and that is our Shaw RRH program. And this program is another rapid rehousing program. I want to start by saying I was in a meeting today and one of my team members very wisely stated that rapid does not mean immediate. So it's not an immediate housing solution, but it is a very focused transition to get folks into stable long-term housing goals. And this funding came to us through the governor's executive order when she declared a state of emergency. within Oregon. And our goal is to help 65 households transition off the streets into affordable, sustainable housing. And this is a new collaboration where we're trying to partner with our neighbors and not just keep things within Salem, but also work with our Polk County neighbors. So anyone residing in rural Polk County or Marion County or City Salem or City Kaiser proper is eligible for these support services. There are a few criteria. Again, we are trying to focus this effort on unhoused individuals. So individuals who are currently without homes, living in uninhabitable situations, or if they are currently in transitional housing and they were homeless prior to that. The way that we determine if a person is eligible is they go through what's called a coordinated entry assessment. And Breezy from Arch has mentioned some of their work, and they are a great coordinated entry assessment partner, as is Church of the Parks. We have many people already in this community on this conversation helping with that. Once we determine someone is experiencing homelessness or housing unsheltered homelessness, we then can assist with these funds. And the way that we can serve the most people and really work on building relationships and breaking the cycle of instability in housing is to have a sustainable housing solution. So our primary focus is helping folks who already have a housing plan established and they're just needing barrier removal assistance to get into that housing plan. So for example, if someone has a Section 8 housing voucher through West Valley Housing Authority, but they're still needing maybe a very large security deposit, or they have a deposit needed for their electricity bill, we can assist with that. And then again, if someone does not have a housing voucher, but does have stable income, if we can verify that someone's income, their gross income is twice their rent, we then can offer support as well. Some of the services that we are assisting with is working with maybe back debt that's a problem for folks. Again, application fees can add up very quickly, those security deposits, and also some basic needs. We continue to learn and see every day that if you are couch surfing or unsheltered or staying in a shelter, you may not have those basic needs like pots and pans or a mattress, a bed to call your own, and we can help with those things. Regarding access to these services, again, coordinated entry is the first step. And the second step is to email me, and then we can get that process started. We have 3 outreach navigators that can support you. My email's at the end of this presentation, but I'm going to say it here just now, just in case. It is squick, SQUICK, at salemhousingor.com. And again, this program is going through January is our current end date. And our goal is to support 65 households. We currently are engaging with about 40, and 21 of those have been stably placed indoors. So they have broken their, they've ended their homelessness, and they now are indoors in an affordable long-term housing solution. So that's the one piece I wanted to talk about. The other piece I wanted to mention briefly, Ryan did a great job kind of listing some of the things that Shaw does here. I just want to point out that all the information that you're seeing on your slideshow right now can be found on our website, which is www.salemhousingor.com. The only assistance program we have outside of public housing and our vouchers and our project-based vouchers right now is the SHAW RRH program. Again, this is just the immediate barrier removal and security deposit assistance. We are not doing long-term ongoing rent support in that fashion right now. Regarding our landlord symposiums here, we do have a link on our website where any local landlords who want to know more about landlord tenant law, about HUD regulations, they can just watch that recorded link there, and it's a great resource for anyone just wanting more information. We do have rental listings with partners there. And then regarding our wait list for all of our vouchers and our public housing, we have one that is opening soon, Inglewood East. It is located within City of Salem, but you do not have to be a Salem resident to apply for it. And that is for seniors 62 and over, 62 years old and over, or having a disabling condition. And that waitlist is opening on October 7th, and it'll be open for 2 weeks. Thank you again for your time tonight.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And before we wrap up, we actually are going to have a couple last presentations for you guys. First, we have Kimberly Lyle from Polk CDC, so Polk Community Development Corporation. Kimberly?
Did it work?
We can hear you. All right.
I don't know what happened. Can you hear me? Shake your head yes. Okay.
We can hear you. Are you able to share?
Okay.
Are we able to share your video?
I was told no on the video, but
Okay, cool. Go
so
for it.
I'm not gonna share it this time because it has audio also, and I don't really know how to turn off the audio. So, and I don't want to take up all the time. So let me just say thank you, Ryan, for getting me through the technical difficulty. My name is Kimberly Lyle. I'm the operations manager for Polk Community Development Corporation. That's a mouthful, so we refer to it as Polk CDC. So Polk CDC is a 501c3 nonprofit organization governed by a board of directors made up of local Polk County residents. We are not a county agency, though we do partner with the county often. So Polk CDC has offered many programs over the 34 years of its existence. However, Polk CDC's primary line of business is to develop and manage affordable housing in rural Polk County. Anyway, Polk CDC has almost 600 residents living in 192 units of our affordable housing. We serve historically marginalized individuals such as persons with serious persistent mental illness, developmentally disabled. We have units set aside for drug and alcohol-free housing geared towards family reunification, veterans housing, workforce housing for people who incomes fall within the 30 to 80% of the area median income. We serve people in the most fragile circumstance. We have been preventing homelessness from our inception through lower security deposits and income qualifications that are lower than the industry standard. We also have a superior property management team that goes to great lengths to keep at-risk individuals in their homes by providing resources with our partners such as Polk County Behavioral Health, DHS, FCO, Arches, Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action, Easter Seals, and many more. We recently surveyed our current residents. We have about 600 residents in our 192 units. 58 of those families identified as being homeless directly before moving into their current homes. Keeping in mind that we only have 27 units that have been developed specifically to provide affordable housing to homelessness, to people exiting out of homelessness, and those are specifically for veterans. So we have way more people that came directly out of homelessness than we have units that were held for that purpose. I wanted to thank Eric also for mentioning Polk CDC because we have been able to permanently house several former Gale Lodge residents. And then I just wanted to let you all know what we have in the pipeline at Polk CDC. We currently, in our current 3 to 5 year plan, we have hopes to develop 80 to 90 more affordable housing units in Polk County. And then also we have a program that we're developing to be able to provide units for the Arches FCO Rapid Rehousing Program. So we're very excited about that. And that is all I have for you today, Ryan.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. We appreciate all the work that you do at Polk CDC.
Thank you.
Our last presentation tonight, and we're actually going to go back a little bit if I can here to Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde. Anne is here to talk a little bit more about what's going on with the housing situation.
Thank you so much for having me and putting up with me today. This is Annie Falla. I do victim assistance for the Warriors of Hope program that we have at the tribe. In June, you guys might have heard, we started opening emergency shelters for victims of domestic and sexual violence. Sometimes we also help elder abuse situations if they need housing, and sometimes trafficking situations as well. We opened our first home in June and then our second home in July. So each home has four rooms, and each house also has 2 restrooms. I'm just trying to think of bed spaces as well. Each room has 2 beds, except for our big rooms. They have kind of those pull-out beds. So those rooms have 4 beds in them. So each household has roughly 10 beds. But given, like, you know, maybe it's a mom and 3 kids, the demographics of who's in one room versus another might change and be fluid. So we have about 10 beds, but we might be housing, you know, if there's 4 single people that are taking 4 of the rooms, we'd actually have a capacity at 4. But if we have, you know, a unique situation, we might actually be housing like 12 or 14 within the household, because it's, you know, a few families with a lot of kiddos. So those both those houses opened again June and July. And then I wanted to make a correction on what I heard about the tiny homes as well. I wanted to let you guys, well, not a correction, more just an update, honestly. Our second village has opened. It's been open for a bit now. And the way we're actually doing it is the first, we have kind of like, not a probationary period, like a trial period where they first come in to the first set of houses. And then once they have, I guess that time period, probationary period, I'm spacing on the more appropriate term for that, but once that period has passed, they then go to the second village and do more longer term stays. So it's working out really beautifully. And you know, we haven't had very many problems. We had more problems with the outside community judging the people that were housed. And so we've just kind of had to take care of that kind of stuff. So but with that, I'll give it back to the team. I just wanted to give more the update on what I was more familiar with, the Warriors of Hope, domestic violence and sexual assault prevention homes. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Annie, for being here and for giving us an update on that. That's amazing. All right, to conclude our presentation, Abby's going to wrap us up.
Thank you so much, Ryan, and thank you to everybody that was here tonight to talk about the different services that are offered in our area and across Polk County. I know DJ Vincent used the word encouraged. Commissioner Gordon talked about the unprecedented level of service connection in our county. And I think just seeing the volume of resources represented in a tiny snapshot, just over 3 minutes for each of our partners, to kind of give you an overview and just a bite of what each of these different services offers to our community. It's so encouraging and neat to really see services that are meeting folks where they're at across the lifespan in different circumstances and across a variety of different resources and different things that are provided to community members across Polk County. It's really neat to see, and even as a person who gets to work in the work on a daily basis, it's always really encouraging. I'm stuck on that word from DJ, just to see how engaged and connected our service providers are with each other and with the community. If you have additional questions or want to ask specifics to any of the presenters that you heard from today, right in front of you on the screen, you'll see contact information from everybody that you heard from, and even from some that couldn't make it here tonight, but represent either supervisors for programs or folks that would have the best answers for you on some specifics that you might have about these resources that you heard from today. Please don't hesitate to copy these down and reach out. All of the presenters on the list today have given a thumbs up for their contact information to be available, and they're totally expecting any kind of follow-up questions that you all have and are ready to answer those questions for you tonight and moving forward. Thank you to those of you that participated tonight, spending your time to listen and learn a little bit about what's happening in the community. While I'm encouraged by the resource providers, I'm also really encouraged to see community members taking their evening to learn a little bit about what's going on and what's happening in our area. Thank you for your commitment to learning about this and hearing more about what's happening in our community. I know Ryan is planning to do just a little bit of a question and answer session. I know throughout the presentation, some questions have come through in the chat, and Ryan's going to help kind of walk us through that process of answering some of those questions now. But just a sincere thank you from everybody that was involved with planning and all of the facilitators here tonight. Thanks for spending your time with us today, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Abby. So some questions have come in. I'm going to actually keep this stay connected slide up on the screen for you guys to have and write down any of the contact information that you guys like. So the first question is a Gale's Lodge question, and it is Gale's Lodge for male veterans only? So Eric, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah. So currently Gale's Lodge is for male veterans only. At some point, it'd be cool to have something similar for female veterans. If you look at the demographics for female veterans, it's typically going to be a little bit different. There might be family or kids involved, so it'd be a little bit bigger program.
Awesome. Scrolling through here. The next question is a Church of the Park question. How do you plan to provide services long term? DJ, would you like to answer that one?
Absolutely. The emergency order issued by the governor and ratified by the legislature put a mandate for groups to act quickly to get folks rapidly rehoused and for shelter beds to open to address the crisis we're in around too many people on our sidewalks and in our parks. That funding has been put forward to continue through June 2025. And so we're going to make a lot of progress in that amount of time for a lot of people in rural Polk County. The good news would be if we didn't need shelter approaches after June of 2025, and the shelters that we're bringing on site are on wheels, and maybe they'll be needed for a response in another community. But I would say if the need still persists, Church at the Park has support service dollars that we get through Medicaid and Pacific Source to provide basic case management, peer support, and other services that we could continue even if there was no other funding for the site. Although if the need was there, we would be looking for other funding. I hope that's helpful.
Awesome. Thanks, DJ. This next question will be for the whole panel. It seems like a lot is going on now as opposed to 5 years ago in a way of addressing homelessness. How can you quantify or talk about the rise of engagement and partnership development to provide services? Loaded question, and I'll actually just repeat it really quick. It seems like a lot is going on now as opposed to 5 years ago in the way of addressing homelessness. How can you quantify or talk about the rise of engagement and partnership development to provide services? Actually, to start, Matt, you want to talk a little bit about just what you've seen in the rise of changes for the warming centers?
Yes, happy to do that. Actually, if you don't mind scrolling back to the slide about the warming centers, we have a little graphic on there that really shows the dramatic shift that we've seen in the last two warming center years. And that is the 2021 to 22 winter overlaid on top of this past winter. We saw between a 3 and a 4 time multiplication of those who are utilizing our services, whether you calculate it by individual guests or just those who stayed the night even one time. But the last category there is individual guests, unduplicated. So these are separate individual people who utilized the warming centers. 183 individuals this past year, only 44 the year before. Our numbers were fairly consistent up until this last winter. There could be a lot of speculation, I'm sure, about what led to the multiplication this past year. Whether it was just the effects of COVID, job losses, the even lower vacancy rates that we have in our rural communities. So lots of different reasons probably that went into that, but we just saw just in our emergency shelter end of things, just a much greater need this past winter. We also saw just, related to warming, we had 60 freezing nights this past winter, as opposed to in the mid 40s from our previous seasons. So we just had a particularly cold year. And so that really, blew up some of our numbers as well of those who just needed that safe place on those freezing nights.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. And just to kind of go to a part two of that question, Breezy, would you like to follow up with just what you've seen in the rise of engagement and partnership development in rural Polk County?
Yeah, Ryan, thank you so much. I've had the honor of being able to work out in Polk County with the homeless community for about the last 7 years. So I have been able to see the needs and been able to work with Matt and I've worked on several specific projects together, including the warming center, including helping some of our unsheltered neighbors together. I think the reality of it is that what we're seeing is that number one, we've always had folks that have struggled to stay housed that are from Polk County, and they were always asked or kind of made to go find the services across the bridge, and a lot of times had to lose their connections to Polk County. And I think as we've learned as a community what works and how to do better, we've tried to engage community partners and services in order to help people rehouse and stay in the communities that they're from. And so I think that is why we have seen more folks wanting to stay in their communities. Polk County Behavioral Health is an amazing resource, and being able to stay close to that resource is important to a lot of people. Staying close to parole and probation is important to a lot of people. Staying close to their families, their church, their recovery groups, it's important to a lot of people. And by being able to bring those services out and helping people rehouse in those communities and this community, it helps them to recover quicker and to make sure that in the future, when they are in need of assistance, they know where to go. And we have created a safety net so they won't re-enter into homelessness.
Awesome. Thanks, Breezy. Is there anybody else from the panel that would like to talk about the rise of engagement and partnership development and just everything you've seen from the last 5 years and how things have changed regards to homelessness? Anybody else from the panel? Commissioner Gordon, I see your hand up.
So I'm relatively new compared to some folks here, but Back in early 2022, during the last regular session of the legislature, they invited counties and cities partnerships to submit applications to be considered for to be pilot communities under House Bill 4123. So rural Polk County, and I think it's 7 other communities across Oregon, rural communities, urban communities, all applied, and we're actually pilots for this House Bill 4123. So we received some funds to stand up that homelessness office, and that really got, I think, the city leadership and county leadership engaged on the same page, and really kind of inspired other partnerships. Like I think the Family and Community Outreach and West Valley Housing Authority partnership came out of that, and just more and more is happening. So it's brought a lot of awareness, I think, to the issue, and it's been a good way to kind of learn together and strategize together.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else from the panel? All right, we will move on. This next question is for Polk CDC. Is anyone thinking about building an older style rooming house, which seems to be perfect for a more permanent housing for many single homeless? Kimberly, do you want to take that one?
Yes, and look at that, I figured out the video camera. So we did do that. If you look at the corner of Washington and Levens, that brick house was actually a self-funded community project where we have 5 units in that house. The issue is rental assistance, because unless an individual has their own bathroom and their own area for cooking, it can't be shared, or you cannot get rental assistance. And so really that's the reason why that's not a sustainable model, because of the federal rental assistance program, Section 8, housing choice vouchers, DASH vouchers, those kinds of things. I hope that answered the question.
Thanks so much, Kimberly.
Mm-hmm.
Next question we have is, which of the partners is the best first stop to refer folks who are experiencing challenges with housing in Polk County? Abby, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned in one of my presentations earlier, the Polk County Resource Center really is intended to be that first stop and a no wrong door for folks experiencing homelessness and experiencing all kinds of different challenges. And so we are absolutely there to start that process, a really good gateway into accessing a variety of different resources and services open to individuals in the community. So if you ever encounter somebody that is experiencing homelessness or just aren't sure where to refer somebody, please start with contacting the Resource Center. That's an excellent first stop and connected to all of the folks that you heard here tonight. So we'd be happy to welcome you as your first stop.
Awesome. Thanks, Abby. Next question. For you, DJ, could you explain a little bit more about the safety training that your staff receives? There's also a question about, will this burden the police departments?
Yeah, I love both those questions in terms of we send our staff through the state training, which that doesn't mean they're pseudo law enforcement. That means they know how to respond within their guidelines. And we then train our staff on a weekly basis on nonviolent communication, so that they're redirecting those individuals to positive behavior and positive choices. And then our staff on a monthly basis, we expose them to these are all the other resources in the community, and are you aware of what resources have space and who to refer to, because one of the things that we're committed to is not just what happens inside the village space, but actually making sure folks aren't camping or coming around the neighborhood, and just giving them that positive redirection of where the appropriate place is for them to seek help. And that takes, again, really person first communication that acknowledges the person's need, but then helps redirect them to the right place to meet that need.
Awesome. Thanks, CJ. Next question is in regards to Ediger Hall. Why was it determined that only one family could be there? It looks large enough to house more than one family. Abby, could you answer that one?
Absolutely. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, great question. Ediger Hall, because there is one single kitchen space, one single entrance and exit, and although it is spacious and really nice, it really is best suited for one family. And it really does help support that transition for the family because of sort of that limited space there. So that was the determination on that.
Awesome. Thanks, Abby. A question did come in regards to sending the PowerPoint slides and all that stuff. Just so you guys know, it is being recorded. And so this presentation will actually be uploaded to our Paths website. And the website is pc-paths.com. And so this presentation will be uploaded there. You can go and review it if you'd like. So that's to come. Also, for Ediger Hall, actually, one second. Yeah, so for Ediger Hall, there will be an open house this Thursday at 3 p.m. And so that's Dallas Alliance Church is where it's located. And so that's your chance to come and see it. You can see all the rooms. You can see the pictures that Abby went through and talked a little bit about, and you can see all the different rooms there and get a good feel for yourself of what that space is like for where clients stay. All right. This next one for DJ and Commissioner Gordon, could you talk a little bit about funding for Church at the Park after initial funding is spent? And just elaborate a little bit on funding.
So I'll start and give what I know, and then DJ can follow up. So this particular rural Polk County Church of the Park project was funded, like DJ said, through the Governor's Emergency Order, which was issued through the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance. And I serve on that board and represent Polk County. And we're always taking in federal or state resources and issue them out to service providers in Marion and Polk County. And Church of the Park has been a long time recipient of various federal and state funds, so they'll always be eligible for funding through the Homeless Alliance. And then also the legislative funding through 2025. The state works on a biennium budget cycle. So a lot of these Oregon Housing and Community Services programs will recycle starting in the following biennium. So Church of the Park will be eligible for that as well. But like all nonprofits, they're using multiple revenue sources to fund programs. I did hear some fears in the community that the city of Dallas would issue a payroll tax to fund this. That is not on the table. I have not heard any talk of that. I doubt that Dallas would consider something like that. But in terms of the nonprofit world and funding options, I'll let DJ take over from here.
Thanks so much. You stated that really well. I think it's obvious from their actions that the current state focus is both to stop this sheltering crisis and provide more affordable housing in our state. And so we want to partner with that to see every person have a dignified place to be in our communities. And I think that would be most people's goal. And so when it comes to funding, we're going to be paying attention to what the state is offering, as well as look for every other resource that we can to help communities. And so that's all I can say is we know that we're supposed to serve the community in a really strong way through 2025, and we'll be looking for every other opportunity.
Awesome. Next question we have, families are most frequently mentioned as recipients for services. Are our seniors receiving equal access to services? So we'll kind of open up that one up to the panel, but we'll start with you, Sara.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, so I hear it, awareness, and I want to be sensitive that we're trying to keep Polk County residents within their community. And I definitely want to acknowledge that if we do have seniors within the Polk County community who are willing to look at housing elsewhere, Salem Housing Authority within the city of Salem does have opportunities. So on our website for our public housing and our affordable housing, we have wait lists that are site specific. And starting on October 7th, we will have 1 and 2 bedroom units opening for our Englewood East complex. These are spacious, independent living, affordable 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. So that is happening, and I wanted to plug that. I do know that I just saw City of Salem, not Polk County, so I do apologize, but I noticed there are some cottages being created with help of the United Way of the Mid-Willamette Valley, focusing on seniors as well. So there is a lot of community action. I'm less informed on Polk County, but I wanted to share that for resources.
Thank you, Sara. Anyone else on the panel want to answer that one?
I know I'm not specific for that age range, but I will say that just for that population, access to affordable housing is much easier, and there are more options available, just more pipelines for housing services. It's a lot easier to get somebody over the age of 60 housed and in permanent supportive housing than it is to even get a family housed in any county. So looking into the Polk County Housing Authority, they have applications for senior housing, and the wait lists are much smaller than even looking into any type of family sheltering services. So.
Thank you, Megan. Anyone else from the panel?
I'll just add that we may want to ask Northwest Senior Disability Services to maybe provide some more info and data here with our senior populations. And also that with the Church of the Park sheltering site, I believe seniors who are medically fragile will also be a priority population served at their shelter site. Just want to throw that in there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else on that one before we move on? All right, next question is for you, Matt. Matt, you mentioned in the comments about training hosts at the warming center. What training do they undergo?
Yes, great question. Actually just finished typing an answer in there, so it should be in written form as well. But we do have a training tab on our website, which is polkwarming.org. That's a place to start, but we do require all of our overnight hosts to meet up, whether in a group setting or in individual setting, to do an in-person training where we talk more about our policies and procedures, what you are able to handle, and when do you call in other professionals and partners like law enforcement or our emergency personnel. So de-escalation techniques are included in that as well. And then last year, and I don't know why we didn't think of this earlier, but it was a great addition to include suicide prevention training as well as trauma-informed care trainings, because we know that most, if not all of our folks that we serve are dealing with trauma, and as well as are in a situation which can easily lead to suicidal thoughts as well. And then our hope is to add first aid CPR training as well, just so that our hosts are as equipped as they can be to serve our guests, to provide the hospitality that's required, but also to be prepared in case there are emergencies that do happen, which does happen occasionally. But we are very thankful that most of those situations we can handle in-house before calling in our community partners. So hopefully that answers the question.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. This next question is youth related question. So it'll be for both Megans, for Home Youth Services Megan and for school-based mental health. The question is, can you talk about the need for youth services for unaccompanied minors or young adults? So we'll start with you, Megan Perez with Home Youth Services.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yes, my apologies. Can you just talk about the need for youth services for unaccompanied minors or young adults?
Yeah, absolutely. Youth who aren't getting support, they aren't being connected to services, they aren't in school, they aren't being supported, and therefore they are going to be getting involved in situations that they feel as though are keeping them safe. More commonly, what we see is youth aren't necessarily tent camping. What they're typically doing is they are couch surfing. So they're staying with people that they deem safe, but typically they are not in safe situations. And so with that, they are doing very unsafe things in order to keep themselves in a home setting. And so the need to put safe adults in their life is extremely important, and provide safe spaces for them to where they can feel empowered to make their own choices and to feel as though they're being heard, and then really get back into school, get back into really services that they identify while feeling like they are at the center of making their own choices is really important, because otherwise what we see is that they are putting themselves back into those unsafe situations. And Megan, do you have something else to add to this?
I think you put it perfectly. A lot of youth are couch hopping and choosing to stay with friends or partners or, friends, grandma, this and that, distance from, and often those aren't the safest situations as well, or they're not allowed to shower there, or they're not sure where they're going to get food next. So the need is there. And oftentimes these students are students that are kind of hard to me to even get a hold of. The fact that they show up to school is kind of a miracle. So the importance of having a relationship with somebody and knowing that they're not going to get in trouble to tell their story. I'm not going to go and put them in a shelter if that's not what they're wanting. I can help them get them other services. So it's kind of a case by case, kind of situation and scenario. But just getting a hold of them and getting to know them a little bit, and having safe humans, specifically at school, to, drive them in the right direction is really important. And there, is a need to get them in school so we can make those connections if they're, not getting positive, safe connection elsewhere.
Awesome. Thank you both. One question just kind of comes up that is generally about more about seniors, and we kind of touched a little bit on that, but we do want to let you know that Polk County Family and Community Outreach here at our Resource Center, we do get quite a bit of older folks that come through. We will serve any age range. We will meet with any age range. Doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. Our goal is to help connect with clients and help meet the needs that they're going through. So Grace and I meet with people every week, every day. People come into our Resource Center and have different situations going on, and a lot of there are elderly homeless people, and we want to be able to meet those needs as well. All right, just reading 1 second. All right, this next one I'm going to pull up in our chat. Just reading through it, 1 second. There are a lot of questions. I love it. Okay. The city of Salem has been funding some of the efforts, but I don't think any of the Polk County or cities are providing funding. Is that correct? Or please correct me. And do you anticipate this changing? Commissioner Gordon, would you like to speak on that one?
Sure. So no Polk County jurisdiction, cities or county are providing cash funding for the Church at the Park site. But the county is a fairly primary service provider. We are the community mental health program, so provide a lot of supports for people staying at that site should it be approved by the city. But no, I don't anticipate the cities contributing cash to this, but there are other in-kind supports that we are all going to work together to make sure it's successful.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just going through. See, we did that one. Here's one. How have needs changed? How have services offered changed? Partnerships growing? Breezy, do you want to chime in on that one?
Oh, yeah. Can you read that again?
Yep, just how needs have changed. It's kind of similar question to one about the 5 years of just how things are growing. Can you talk about just what's growing in rural Polk County right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we are meeting with folks and we are, hearing what their needs are, I think what we're seeing a lot more families on the verge than we've ever seen before. So the prevention, when we talk about prevention and being able to create a safety net, there's always been folks that are in need, but it just seems that the need is even greater. And I think that we're missing some, and that is leading to folks entering into homelessness, having to live in cars and RVs. And so I think that's been the biggest change, is just the folks that are on the edge all the time and not being able to recover without a safety net of assistance from, community resource centers, churches, things along those lines.
Thanks, Breezy. DJ, this next one is for you. What will happen to people who don't comply with the program requirements? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So our goal is to help people stabilize and to be as patient as humanly possible for folks to meet the desired expectations of the site. And so really the main thing we're looking at is behavior that is presenting itself. And we will let people know what our hopes are and expectations are verbally. Then we'll write that up in a clear way that both parties can understand. And then if folks are just really not wanting to be on the site, then we'll partner with them on where they want to go next. And we'll look at all available options, other partners that it may be a better fit. And we have transportation lined out for 40 hours a week. And so we can literally give people a ride to an appropriate spot that they want to be instead of being on our site. And so there won't be situations where you'll begin to see a pileup of folks on Hallman Street. That's just not an option. And folks can go to our 3 sites now and see that even after operating for years, that is not a practice or an option that occurs.
Thanks, TJ. We do have a question about, well, basically, many questions kind of come in about how you can get involved. And so one of the amazing ways that you can get involved is we have a PATHS website. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. It's pc-paths.com, and it will be put in the chat for you guys to have, and you can be able to click on it. That website is filled with a ton of information. It's filled with tons of data, ways to get involved, different resources in rural Polk County. It's a pretty cool website. You should take the time and click through it. It also has resources. So if you do come across somebody who is experiencing homelessness and you kind of don't know what to do, that is a great website for you to go to. It has resources on there that you can direct people to here in rural Polk County. And it's pc-paths.com. DJ, this next question is for you again. Will the property be cleaned up and regularly maintained? Many neighbors don't want this to bring their property values down. Answer that one out loud.
Yeah, very good. I am happy to say I just talked to one of the resident owners of a property right next to us in Salem, and he was saying he was concerned. But the reality is that our sites are incredibly clean and much more quiet than he could have imagined. And I would invite anyone from Dallas or on the Hallman Street to just really go look at the site at 1280 Center Street across from Safeway. Take a walk around, notice how clean it is, notice, the level of activity. And that's a site that's double the size of what we're proposing. And the reality is our staff know that it is a high priority to help people begin to organize their things so that they're ready for the next step of an apartment and just being a great neighbor wherever they're going to live next.
Thanks, DJ. This next question. Some people are saying that homeless individuals and families are being brought in from Salem, Corvallis, or Portland. Basically, that is not true. I don't know how that is true. So I'll just answer that straight up. How do partners verify that somebody is from rural Polk County? Abby, you want to answer that?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Ryan. So as far as the Polk County Resource Center goes, there's a couple of ways that our teams, I talked a little bit about the 3 different teams that can work with clients in the Resource Center in-house. All of the teams, although they might have a little bit of a different focus, use the same method for verifying somebody's residence in Polk County. And that can be done in a couple of different ways. And that can be done through verifying their physical residence with a utility bill or an eviction notice, some other kind of legal document that states that they live where they live, right? Something like that they can show and prove. That can also be shown through a government issued ID or some sort of verified relationship with another service provider. Again, that can include like behavioral health, housing authority, another partner that we work with a lot that are represented here on the call tonight. So those relationships that are built with the Polk County Resource Center team and the clients that we work with help us walk through the process of getting all of this information, and that information is documented and kept to ensure that the folks that we're serving do have that connection to Polk County, and that's that current connection that they're living here in our region.
Awesome. This next question is for you, Eric. Could you talk a little bit about the partnership with Easter Seals?
Yeah. So Easter Seals of Oregon is one of our partners here. They have several different programs to help veterans, whether it's related to housing needs or employment needs. They have one program, SSVF, which stands for Supportive Services for Veterans and Families, who can maybe help with housing related costs, deposit assistance. I don't want to say something inaccurate, so I'll leave it at that. But they also have, like I said, employment programs that are specifically for veterans to help them gain, long-term sustainable employment to be self-sufficient later on.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Breezy, could you explain a little bit more about coordinated entry?
Yes, if I can get, sorry, nothing wants to work right now. Yes. So coordinated entry is the system by which individuals and families are assessed for need. This is a program that has been established by the COC. Arches runs it, but the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance is the lead agency on it, and then Arches runs it for the COC. Every single individual or family that is homeless or at risk of homelessness in Marion and Polk County, we want them to enter into the coordinated entry system. The system tracks information, just basic demographics. And a lot of that is how we now know where folks are from. Where are they coming from? Where have they been? And we know from that, what their needs are going to be based on some of the answers to those questions. So the coordinated entry system will also have a vulnerability score attached to it. And that really helps us to determine and work with people to determine what is the best service for them. So when we're talking about rapid rehousing, we're talking about folks that are eligible for 1 to 2 years of rental assistance. Maybe there's households that that's not appropriate for. Maybe we know that we need to be able to get them into a more permanent supportive housing units. And so we'll work with the Salem Housing Authority. They have great permanent supportive housing units in Salem. We work with Polk CDC for some of their affordable units that they have as well. And the coordinated entry system is really kind of that entry into all of those services and in determining where folks would best fit, and then helping guide them to all of the options that they have available for them.
Awesome. Thanks, Breezy. This next question is about how can community members volunteer? How can they donate? So I'll just give you the answer for that one. For volunteering, each organization kind of has a different way that they go about their volunteer program. A lot of the information that you see on the screen here with contact information, those are great people to ask if you have a specific place that you want to volunteer. If you want to work with youth, Megan Perez would be a good contact for that. If you're wanting to say get involved with the Polk warming centers, Matt Smucker is a perfect one for that. So use his contact information. So I would say reach out to the organization that you kind of desire to volunteer at. And for donating, that's kind of the same thing. Donating is kind of the same thing. Reach out to kind of the place that you want to donate, that you wish to donate. Some places take certain items and some don't. It just kind of depends on what the need is. So feel free to contact somebody here in this contact list. And to get involved, there is a drop form that was just put in the chat. So that's another way for you guys to get involved. Feel free to click that link. It's another way for you to get involved. Yeah. All right, just figuring out next question. Abby, I think you're prepared to answer one of the questions in the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So a community member is asking in the chat, they just stated that the level of collaboration between Polk County services, nonprofits, and faith communities is exceptional. Why is there great collaboration in this community? And I think there are 100 different reasons why that is true, but I think Polk County, the reason that we're able to be so successful and to partner across different boundaries of government versus nonprofit versus faith communities, all to work together to tackle these and other issues, is because we have a spirit of collaboration in Polk County. There's a real sense of community, not only amongst the folks that live in Polk County, but also amongst the providers that provide services to those living in Polk County. I think there's an understanding that if we don't work together to make these things happen, that we're not going to be as strong as we are now. We really want to make sure we break down barriers for the individuals that live in our community, and we want to be able to support each other in the work that we do. There's lots of crossover between each of the services that you heard from today, and that really is up to the leadership in each of those agencies to say we want to prioritize that collaboration, and we recognize when we open our doors instead of close doors to each other that we're not going to have that collaboration cross county and cross agency. And so it is really unique, and it's neat to see that from all levels leadership is really supportive of that type of collaboration, and all of our partners around the table are really open to that spirit of collaboration, and it's proven that when we can work together, our dollars stretch further and our community is healthier overall. So I think really it's all of the partners around the table here today and our community that come together and say, hey, we're supportive of this, we want to see this happen, and that allows us to make it all happen.
Thanks, Abby. This next one, DJ and Breezy, I'm going to ask you to share your thoughts on this one. But there's a question in the chat basically says that since the proposal was turned in, there are more homeless people in the area. Would you guys like to share your thoughts on that one? We'll start with you, Breezy.
Sorry, I was going to be polite and let DJ go first. I can absolutely understand how it would look that way. I think that there are more individuals and families in Polk County that are unsheltered at this time. I don't think the two have anything to do with each other. I think that it has to do with, as I kind of spoke to before, we have folks that are living on the edge of homelessness more so than we ever had before. And they are unable to sustain their living situation, or they're in tenuous living situations. And so they are going to be, out into the community more often, and folks are going to see them. I also think that it's kind of one of those things that once we as a community start talking about it, you notice it. I have lived in Independence and Monmouth for 13 years. I've worked in this line of work for 12 years. There's always been homeless individuals in Monmouth and Independence, and people will tell me, no, there hasn't. And I'm like, yes, there has. You just don't notice it until it's been brought to your attention. And I think as a community, we're more aware, and we're seeing it more because we're more aware of it. And I think that that's what's playing into it as well, is that whereas before certain things we would not necessarily notice, we're noticing it more. And hopefully now that we're more aware of it, we can be supportive of helping these folks, retain housing and stand back up on their feet.
I can't say it better than that. I would say that the numbers say that the pit count was triple of the people that could be found 3 years ago. And even the preventative dollars spent are almost double what they were. So the need is empirically growing, and no one living day to day is following the news and saying I should go out there 3-4 months ahead of time so that I can maybe get into a shelter, when there are shelters that they could seek assistance with on their survival needs that they're thinking about today in other places.
Awesome. Another question, really for the panel. Does anyone on the panel want to address services for folks who might be developmentally disabled? Anybody want to talk about services?
I answered that question. I typed it out, but if you need assistance, if the person needs assistance, living assistance, supported 24-hour care, then they probably should get a hold of Northwest Senior and Disability Services. And then also in this area, there's Ron Wilson Center, and there is Partners in Community Living, PCL, or Sunny Oaks in Salem. If they are able to live independently, there's no reason why they couldn't call Polk CDC and be put on the wait list for a unit. So someone else may need something.
Yeah, thank you, Kimberly. Those are all the ones that I'm aware of too. If there's anybody else in the panel that wants to hit on any other more services regarding developmentally disabled people, please chime in.
Just want to mention that behavioral health has a division serving folks with developmental disabilities. And unfortunately, we don't have a representative from that division here, but we can maybe provide that at a later time.
Anybody else from the panel? All right, we will move on to the next one. There's a question that basically says, will Church at the Park facility be populated with folks included in the statistics covered at the beginning of this webinar? So those data statistics that I shared, will Church at the Park be covered basically, or be populated with those statistics? Breezy, you want to touch on that one?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of touch on, and not just to answer for DJ and his team, but DJ and his team work really closely with the coordinated entry team. And so, yes, some of those folks that we talked about, those families and specifics, will be at those shelters. But one of the things that's really important is when folks enter into the coordinated entry system, we identify folks that are a good fit for micro communities. And then those that are not, we look for other opportunities for them. So we've already in Polk County assisted individuals at the Navigation Center in Salem, at Arches Inn in Salem, and being able to assist them in finding some of those opportunities that are a little better fit for a higher needs individual, so that they can receive some more intense services and then be able to rehouse back in the community that they are from. And so I think it's important that we are working with everybody as an individual with whatever the service is that is best fit for their family.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Breezy. So we're going to wrap up now. We're approaching 8 o'clock. So thank you all so much. Thank you so much to the panelists for joining, for presenting this information. Thank you for all who are attending and listening to this presentation, as well as putting questions in the chat. We will be putting unanswered questions up on the PATHS website, along with this video that is being recorded. That's pc-paths.com. So we'll also have on the website this panelist contact information. So this last slide here, you will see that up on the PATHS website as well. We hope to get that up in the next few weeks. So thank you all so much and have a great rest of your night.